Hey everyone, Wrektify here. Thanks for joining in as today we'll be going over the second portion of the Grand Tournament initial announcement. And if you missed the first video, we went over the neutral cards released there, and then today in this video we'll be going over the class-specific cards. We'll be taking a look at Mage, Hunter, and Shaman today. Those are the only classes with cards released in the initial announcement. Following that, in the Taiwan announcement where they revealed a few more cards, there are actually a few more class cards out there, which we'll take a look at in the next video. And then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at some theory crafting and take a look at what new meta decks might look like for classes and just in general how the gameplay might change. Enjoy the video, and if you guys do end up enjoying the video, feel free to leave your comments below and subscribe here to keep up with the updates as we look forward to the expansion here. Enjoy, guys. So first up on our list today is Koldara Drake for Mage. Koldara Drake is an epic for Mage, as you can tell here. It's a 6 mana, 6/6 drop, 6 attack and 6 life. And its hero ability, focusing on powering up the hero abilities, going with the theme of this expansion here, is you can use your hero power any number of times. Now, this is a pretty key card for Mages here, is if you're going to play an inspired deck, it does revolve around buffing it. If you guys didn't see the first video, you missed Justicar Trueheart, a 6 mana drop as well for 6/3, which buffs the Mage's hero ability to do 2 damage permanently for the rest of the game instead of 1. With Koldara Drake down, you use it any number of times. With just a pure Koldara drop after that on a turn 10, you could do 4 damage from your hero ability, and you can split that up any way you see fit. This goes really powerfully with Maiden of the Lake, as you see here, and Maiden of the Lake actually will let you use it up to 10 times in a turn if you're able to hold off that long and keep both monsters on the field, which makes it pretty insane there. That would be kind of the dream combo to get Koldara Drake out, Maiden of the Lake, and Fallen Hero. So there's a way to make this really good in an inspired deck for Mages. It's definitely possible to bring up a new play style. The pitfalls of it, however, is that inspired decks are looking like they will be really slow. They could be good, but really slow, and that's probably on purpose because Blizzard looks to be trying to shift the game pace a little bit slower, trying to get away from aggro, even though the game is already moving in that direction due to everyone trying to stop Grim Patron. But I think this will be pretty interesting to see. In Arena, this actually might be pretty decent too. I mean, on a turn 10 drop, if you draw out late game, you could ping twice at the very least. You won't be able to pull off a combo. But for a 6 mana drop, it does have decent stats in itself already for 6/6. Next up here, we have Fallen Hero, the card just mentioned that pairs really well with Koldara Drake and Maiden of the Lake and Justicar Trueheart. Adds 1 extra damage to your hero power. Now ideally, you'd want to use this either early game to remove mobs from the field, or you would like to drop this after Justicar Trueheart to get it to 3 damage. You drop 2 of them to get it to 4 damage, which actually ends up making it very powerful. Now if you take a look at, again, we're not going to craft the deck here quite yet, we'll save that for another video, but if you take a look at just these cards lined up here and see how the synergy might be able to be used together, you could actually get your damage to, what, 40 in 1 turn if you were to give it everything perfectly off. You have your entire field ready and you have a full 10 mana. You can actually do 40 damage in 1 turn with your hero ability alone, which is pretty crazy just to think about it. How likely is it to come out? Not likely at all or ever, but it's something that you can try to achieve, and even if you achieve something lesser, maybe you get half of that off, you get 20 damage off, it's still not bad at all for just using your hero ability. Even 20 would be difficult though, so I say a realistic estimate to pull this off, you may be somewhere between, on average, I'll say 4 to 8, but we'll see how that goes. There might be some new cards coming out yet that we don't know about that might make it easier to pull off. The next card coming up actually for Mages might make it a little bit easier if you're lucky, so we'll take a look at Effigy here. Now Effigy is a pretty tricky secret here. It works similar to Duplicate, where if your monster dies, you get something, except instead of getting 2 copies of the current monster that dies on the field and put them into your hand, you summon 1 copy of it. The bonus here is that you get it on the field immediately at no extra mana cost. The downside is that you only get 1, and you don't quite know what you're getting. It could be something amazing, it could be something horrible. Obviously, something with the same mana cost the higher the mana cost of the monster dying, the better it is. So it's more of a, I guess, a secret to take control of the early game really early, or something to kind of just devastate your opponent late game. Now, if you were to get something like, I don't know, say Sneed's Old Shredder out with this, and Sneed's Old Shredder dies and summons a legendary, and then you get another legendary pretty much at that mana cost, or maybe something like a War Golem. I forget the exact mana of Sneed's actually, but imagine you're actually getting Sneed's, and Sneed's dies and summons another Sneed's, and then impossible combo, I know, but just something like that in that kind of range. It makes it really interesting to see what could happen in there. Maybe your Emperor Thorson dies and you summon a Sylvanas. I don't know, there's so many combos that could just completely turn the tide of the game if you get it up at the right time. So I would actually say that effigy will end up being used a fair amount. You'll see it in both Constructed and Arena. As one of the, I guess, secrets that kind of complement Mirror Entity really well. There's a lot of decks that they use Mirror Entity and then they don't know what else to put in play there, but they feel like they have to put in at least one or two other secrets because they're running Mad Scientist to try to draw out those cards. Frost Mage being one of them, or Tempo Mage running counter spells. They'll run, I don't know, they'll look for pretty much anything that will complement their deck, but I feel like Effigy, no matter what style of mage deck, it'll work. So my guess is that you'll see it often, so we'll go ahead and see how that turns out when the game actually releases the expansion here. And then next up here we have Ball of Spiders. Not an amazing card, not a horrible card, but it's very interesting. I would say that this is probably, and the next card actually, probably Blizzard's attempt to push for a slower pace hunter, a control type hunter. Except this card, it summons, for 6 mana, summons 3 web spinners, 1/1 creatures that give you a random beast in your hand once they die. I feel like this is a bit too slow and a bit too high of mana cost. I feel like it'd be much more reasonable at 5 mana here. But the good part about this card, if you're trying to play a control hunter, or I guess a very, very slow mid-range hunter, is that it bundles cards together. It gives you 3 web spinners, which in turn give you 3 other cards for 1 card spot in your deck. The bad side is, I think that the card itself already is too slow at 6 mana, and it competes with a spot with Savannah Highmane and Emperor Thorson and Sylvanas, all cards that I would take over Ball of Spiders any day of the week. At 5, there's a few less options, so maybe it would come in there, but at 6, you probably won't see this too often in Constructed. In Arena, you could see this. I guess if you guys are playing and you're burning each other out on the field, you're trading, and you're both running low on cards, this could be the difference maker. Maybe you get lucky and they flame strike your web spinners and you pull out 3 King Crushes and you end up going for face. It'll be interesting to see it in Arena, but in Constructed, far too slow and far too inconsistent in terms of randomly getting beasts in your hands here. And we'll probably never see that, unfortunately. And then here comes the second Hunter card release, Lock and Load. Again, Blizzard's attempt at making a slower paced Hunter viable, which we probably won't see. I don't think Lock and Load is good enough to give you a reason to play Hunter slower, so we'll go with that as a way to phrase it. It's not good. Now, Lock and Load, 2 mana. After Lock and Load, you'll get a random card, a random Hunter card for every spell you play. Now, this doesn't, first of all, for people wondering, it does not include Lock and Load. Lock and Load, at least the first one, does not trigger itself. It's only spells played afterwards. Now, the cards that would give you the most value out of this would be things like Hunter's Mark, Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, the low mana spells that would have a good effect as well. Again, this would probably be too slow, first of all, for Constructed, and too random for Constructed to be consistently climbing up the ladder. In Arena, though, you might see this a good amount. So it'll be interesting to see this card in Arena as well for Hunters, because it gives them a way to kind of, well, I guess, lock and load their hand. Hunters are notoriously known to pretty much run out of cards while going for face, especially with opponents that have Antique Healbot or Taunts up. They don't have much draw power, so Lock and Load gives them that option. In Constructed, Could you see this at all? Maybe. I mean, if you're not playing around this for a slower pace deck, you could see this as again, as a lock and load card, as a more firepower potential for, I don't know, those end turns when you're trying to spam lock and load and then you throw down a quick shot or another quick shot or kill command or unleash the hounds and you're maybe 1, 2, 3 damage off of lethal. It's possible. As far as playing around this though, no, probably not, unfortunately. I do look forward to the day that Blizzard gets a successful control hunter out there though. And next up we have Shaman. The 4 cards coming for Shaman actually. It looks like they're actually looking to make Shaman a viable ladder contender, a lot more than they currently are anyways right now. First up we have Thunderbluff Valiant, which is a 5 mana 3/6 drop. And has an Inspire ability, the new mechanic, that activates upon hero use, which gives your totems +2 attack. Now this can get out of control really fast, which is why I feel like if any card deck were to, or if any class were to look to use the new mechanic with Inspire in their cards, it would be Shaman here. So they're playing around totems a lot here for Shaman, the new expansion. Now, Thunderbluff Valiant, you use a totem, it buffs all the current totems in the field with +2 attack. And that does consistently keep stacking, so it will get out of control if they don't deal with Thunderbluff Valiant. And you can combine this with cards that currently exist, like Totemic Might, and you can make your totems into really, really threatening mobs out there. It's interesting too, and then the stats on this make it hard to kill. I mean, it's a 5 drop, so the mana is a bit high if you're just looking at the base stats and not the abilities at 3/6, but the 6 HP means that unless you're really, really behind, you should be able to get 1 off fairly regularly, at least 1 Inspire off. It's doable. It's a very doable way to build up your field and kind of give your totems, I guess, more value. Because if you take a look at the next cards coming up here, you're going to see that they also play around totems. So there's like a lot of good synergy coming up for Shaman here. And then here's the second Shaman card, Journey Totem Carver, which actually has a battle cry, kind of like Frostwolf Warlord, where he gets +1 attack and +1 life for each friendly minion on the field, except Journey Totem Carver gets +1 attack and +1 HP for each friendly totem on the field. This limits her in the sense that you have to play around getting a lot of totems in the field. That also includes, aside from your hero ability, that also includes Manatide Totem and Flametongue Totem and the new totem coming up next, Totem Golem, which is a great card. But if you're going to play an Inspire type Shaman, which looks like, again, could be very viable, Journey Totem Carver, I would say that you could at least get her to a 5/5. So a 4 drop, 5/5. I don't think anyone would argue that that's a fairly good value there. And if you have more than 1 totem, that means you're getting a 6/6 or higher. For 4 mana, that's a steal. The downside, I don't think there's too much downside to playing this if you're planning on playing the Inspire deck anyways, because even at 4 mana, the regular base 4/4 drop, if you need it, it's probably because you're in a desperate situation and there aren't too many 4 drops out there that would save you anyways. But what makes the Totem Master so strong is that now you have a really strong 2 mana drop totem, Totem Golem here. So for 2 mana, you have a 3/4 base stat monster. Now that's insane. You do have the 1 overload, but assuming you play this on turn 2, on turn 3, even with the 1 overload, you could either use your hero ability or drop a second Totem Golem. And on turn 2, it's pretty hard to drop a 3/4 monster. You would need something like Flame Cannon in a clear field, and other than Mage, not too many classes can do that. Taking a look at this, if you were able to get out 2 Totem Golems, and you got into turn 4 and dropped a Totem Master, assuming they didn't kill it, assuming maybe they were, say, a handlock, they don't have big monsters early on before turn 4, and maybe you drop these 2 and the Totem Master, you have a 3/4, a 3/4, and a 6/6. It's really hard coming back from that as most classes, especially if they're not playing to take the board. In general, you have Frost Mages, you have Handlocks as mentioned, you have slower Ramp Druid draws. It can get out of control really quickly there. Totem Golem's a great card, and I feel like this is the early game buff that shamans needed. You're going to see a lot of this in Constructed, whether it's going to be an Inspired deck or not. For a shaman, if anyone's playing a shaman, they're more than likely going to have this. This is going to be their new staple 2-drop, in my opinion anyways. But it's just so good. There's absolutely no reason to not play it. And last but not least, we have Tuskar Totemic, who 3 mana, 3/2 drop. The stats are okay, nothing crazy. Same stats with effect, similar to Shattered Sun Cleric there, and she's a decent card. Not great, not horrible, but you see her in Arena. His battle cry, though, is to summon any random totem, which is pretty decent. You can get any of those random totems, so notice how they specify any random totem there, all caps. Any of your hero ability totems on top of Manatai Totem, Flame Tongue Totem, and Totem Golem, who we just took a look at. So if you were to drop on turn 3 a Tuskar Totemic and get a Totem Golem, on turn 3 you would get a 3/2, a 3/4, and you would avoid that one overload, giving you a clean turn 4. That would be insanely hard to deal with as well. It's really good to see that Shaman is getting such a good early game buff, because that is most definitely their weakness here. This keeps them out of aggro very easily if they're not playing a mech shaman now, because that was what they had to play really to have a steady control in the early game to get that down here. But now with Totem Golem, 2 of them, and 2 Tuskar Totemics, it's pretty reasonable to say that they're a decent contender in the early to mid game now. This will round out our class cards that were released in the initial amount, but I do think Shaman got the biggest buff so far as we can tell, and I hope it continues like that, because I think since the game has released, even in the early beta, Shaman has always been one of the weaker links, and it's good to see them getting some attention here. Much needed love. So that'll be it for this video here, everyone. Thank you guys for watching so much. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe here. Next, we'll be doing our theory crafting after we take a quick peek at the next 4 or 5 cards that were released in the past few days from the Taiwan announcement, including another legendary, another epic, and a few other cards, and then the vote picks that people are voting on via Twitter and via the internet in general, just to see who they want to see next. After that, I'll try to craft a new Shaman deck for fun, a new Mage deck for fun, and whatever else I can see that has a decent amount of cards out that I might be able to actually be able to think in theory craft, since most other classes don't have too much out yet. Alright guys, again, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all again soon. Bye.